Okay, on your desk, have your book open to page 64 and have a piece of loose leaf next to it. Raise your hand if you did not like last night's homework. Okay, so hands down, I knew you wouldn't like it when I gave it to you. But what you don't like about it was that it was challenging, right? It wasn't impossible. Everything on there you know how to do. Some of it you may have forgotten how to do. What we're going to do today is we're going to spend a whole lot of time going over these 6 problems. You have a piece of loose leaf. Come on. You won't let me. There we go. The reason it's hard is because it brings together lots of old skills with new skills, okay? What is number sense? What is number sense? Who can remind me what is number sense? Jude?
Like how smart you are with your numbers and your common sense.
Okay, kind of like common sense with numbers. Yeah, it's just how do numbers make sense to you, okay? Do you understand numbers or do you have to work at them a little bit harder, okay? Our number sense is kind of all over the place in 6th grade. Some of us, when we see decimals, our number sense with decimals is really good, and maybe it's not very good with fractions, or vice versa. Or maybe when we see fractions and decimals, our brain just kind of shuts down. In this one problem here, I'll draw you a diagram of what we're going to do today. Here is our problem, okay? Depending on you and where your number sense is at, there's about 6 different paths to get to the same answer. Well, there's 3, yeah, but we're going over 3, but there's about lots of different ways to get there. I'm going to spend time today to show you all of those different routes and hope that one of them makes sense, okay? We're going to be adding to our number sense. What was on last night's homework that was kind of confusing? One specific thing. What's one specific skill from last night's homework that was confusing or made this confusing? You guys all said it was hard. So what was hard about it? Specifically, Naomi?
For me, it was changing the fractions into money.
Okay, fractions into money, okay? That's what I was hoping someone would say. With fractions and money, every fraction has a decimal that is equivalent to it. Did you guys already know that? Okay. There are some that are very, very common. Some of them you already have up here in your brains, like 1/2. What is 1/2 as a decimal? 0.5 or 0.50. There are a list of about, I think it's 18 of those that you will memorize this year. We will take 3 time tests over them, really to force you to memorize them. In 7th grade, guess what you do? You do the exact same 18 numbers where like I give you 1/2 and you have to tell me that that's equal to 0.5 and 50% because all fractions and decimals also have a percentage that is equivalent. If we would have done that prior to last night, this lesson would have been a lot easier, but we're not quite ready for those yet. We do them right when we get back from Christmas is when we start doing those fraction, decimal, percent quizzes. But that's developing number sense. Right now, some of you have some of that number sense, but if you don't have the number sense, you all have the math sense to get there. It's just I might have to retrieve it from down deep in your brain from the end of last year. Okay? So we're going to spend all of today, and it'll take us the whole time to go over these 6 problems. Because am I just getting to the answer one way? No. So while I'm working them out, I want you to work them out on your loose leaf. Okay, for at least the first one and the third one. After that, we might stop with that. So, title your loose leaf, Lesson 8. We are going to like staple it into our books when we're done. So, title your loose leaf, Lesson 8. And then on the first line, write page 64. Even if you got the right answer, I want you to write this down, okay? Because I guarantee I'm going to do something that you do not have. So page 64, number 1, says 4 bags of chips cost $6. What should I write down first? Harper?
6/4.
Okay. I would start with 6/4. I need more. What else do you think I need? Labels. Dollars over what's the 4 represent? Bags. Okay, dollars over bags. Now, anytime money is involved, where does it go? On top. Do you guys know why? Dane?
Price over product.
It is price over product. That's what I say to help you memorize it, but do you know why? Harper?
Because it's easier to get, like, for one from the bottom, for, like, the product for one, and then you just do the top. I don't know.
Okay, so she's right. She just doesn't know how to say it. So when you go to the store, okay, do you go to Casey's and say, I want $1 worth of Snickers? No, unless one whole Snickers is $1, but a Snickers is now over $1. So if you went to Casey's and you're like, I have $1, I want a Snickers or some Snickers. Can you just go to the Snickers bar, cut it open, and take $1 worth? No. Okay, a lot of the products that we purchase, you can't separate them. You can't just go open them up and take what you want out of that package. You have to buy the whole package and figure out the dollar amount for one set of that product. So we do price over product because that's how we purchase things. We purchase things by the product. 1 bag of chips, 1 bottle of water, or 1 pack of water, depending on what the label is. Naomi?
Well, like, when I go to Casey's, it's like paid for gas. I say, can I have $20 worth of gas?
Because
Gas.
you're right, because you are buying $20 worth of, like, it is gallons, but that's one where there's actually neither one of them is typically a whole number. So you can say, I want $20 of gas, and that will give you like, 4.28 gallons or whatever. Usually neither one of those are whole numbers if you're getting gas. You're right. But up on the board when you pull into Casey's, what does that number represent?
How much per gallon?
Price per 1 gallon. So when you're buying gas, they don't tell you how much gas you're getting for $1. It's not very much. Okay, they tell you for 1 gallon of gas, how much does it cost you? So it's still price over product. But you're right, when you're actually purchasing it, that just means one of your ratios down here would be like 2 decimal numbers or 2 fraction numbers, like the ratio that goes together. And it's because the price is an ugly decimal usually. Okay, so for this one, Nate, read me 1A. What does the question say?
What is the cost per bag?
What is the cost per bag? Carter, what is that asking me? If it asks me for the cost per bag that I can use to fill in part of my equivalent ratios here.
4 divided by 6.
That's not a question. What question is find the price per bag asking me?
How much is 1 bag?
Yeah, it's 1 bag. So I have to put next to bags, I put a 1. Now, Carter, what do I have to ask myself to solve this?
4 divided by 6.
Nope. You're on the right. You probably have the right work on your paper. You're just saying it incorrectly. Livy?
4 divided by what equals 1?
Yeah, I have to figure out 4 divided by what gets me to 1. And what is that, Carter?
4.
4. Okay. So then I have to do the same thing on top. And I've been trying to stress to you, don't do any math yet. Sometimes if you don't do math, that's your final answer. So Haley, what is 6 divided by 4 with no math? 6/4, yep. Sometimes when you look at that in the label, you're like, yep, that works, I'm done. But does 6/4 dollars per bag make sense? No. Sometimes you'll be like, yes, 1/2 cup of sugar is a good answer. I'm done. Okay, this isn't the case here. So now we're going to take that 6/4 down here, because we're saying 6/4 does not make sense as dollars. So we're just going to stick with what we do know. Sophia, if you gave me 6/4 as an answer, what do you know about that answer? It can be simplified to what? 3/2. Okay. Does 3/2 dollars make sense, or 3/2 dollars? No, but you know if you have 3/2 as an answer, what's wrong with that, Nolan?
It's an improper fraction.
It's an improper fraction. What would you change it to?
A mixed number.
A mixed number? How do we change it to a mixed number?
Divide 3 by 2.
Okay, I want everybody to write this, because we're actually going to write it twice. Because again, we're just going through things that we know to be true. Because we know to be true, 3/2 dollars doesn't make sense. Ethan, how many times does 2 go into 3? Try again. 1 time. 2, I subtract. How do I write that as a mixed number, Addie? 1 and 1/2. Okay, here's where our number sense is going to kick in. When you see 1.5 and you add dollars label, what does that do in my head, Reese? $1.50 in my head, what does it look like? $1.50. So some people probably went 3/2 or even 6/4. If you divide it out, you would have got 1 2/4 or 1.5, and thought, okay, that's $1.50. Raise your hand if that person was you. You got to either 6/4, change it to a mixed number, and then you're like, ooh, half is 50 cents. Okay, good. Now, that's a pretty common fraction. 1/2 is obviously one of the 18 common ones that you're going to have to memorize. How else could I have gotten there if my brain didn't tell me, hey, that's 0.5 or 0.50? Harper?
You know that 2/4 is equal to 1/2. So 2/4 equals 50 cents out.
Okay, so you're still using number sense with the fractions. Let's do this division problem a different way. How many times does 2 go into 3? It's not changing. Once. That's 2. Subtract. I'm not giving my answer as a fraction. I want to give my answer as a decimal. How do I do that? Ooh, Nolan's light bulb just turned on. I saw it. Nolan, how do I do that?
You add a 0 and a decimal point and keep going.
Remember, I can add a decimal point and a 0, as many zeros as I need, and keep dropping them till I get to an endpoint. So I'm going to add that decimal point and a 0, because is 3.0 the same thing as 3? Yes. Is 3.00 the same thing as 3?
Yes.
It is 3.000000, as many zeros as I can say.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to drop that now. How many times does 2 go into 10? 5. That's 10, and I get 0. Now, if you give me $1.5 as an answer, I'm taking off 1/4 of a point. Because do we talk like that? No, we would say $1.50. So you would still have to add that 0, but we could still get there. So if your number sense doesn't work well with fractions, when you saw 1/2, if you didn't think 0.5, you can back that up with math. Okay, all of your number sense up here in your brain, you should still be able to back up with math when needed. It's just hopefully we're getting away from needing to show that math all the time. Does that make sense? Okay, so now we are up here. I'm going to just write 1.50. So for 1A, and I'm going to leave space because I'm going to have to expand that. For 1A, the question was how much per bag of chips? So Chase, what is my answer that I need to write if the question is how much per bag of chips, or whatever it said? in English? Do you speak like that? Do you say per each bag?
4 bags of chips cost $1.50.
4 bags of chips? Who can say it in the quickest, shortest, most makes sense way? Stella?
1 bag of chips costs $1.
No, too long. Harper?
$1.50 per bag.
$1.50 per bag. $1.50 per bag. How else can I write that exact same thing? Remember, I want you guys to write this. I'm doing it lots of different ways so you have something to look back on. Because do you think these problems are going away after today? No. This is probably the most common ratio problem you will see, and it carries on through the years. Next year you'll start with ratios and proportions, and then you'll call it slope. After you call it constant and variation, it's all the same thing. So unit rate is a very important ratio, the most important ratio that we will talk about. How else can I write that same answer? Same answer. No more words. Actually, it's less words, but it'll say the same thing. Livy?
150 with like an equal sign?
Not an equal sign. There is something I can put in place of the word per. Harper?
Slash. Or you want.
Cooper? Slash.
Yeah.
$1.50 per bag. Okay, 1B. Nate, will you read me 1B?
At this rate, how much will 7 bags of chips cost?
At this rate means following this same pattern. Using that same ratio, how much will 7 bags cost? So I'm just going to extend my ratios to get to 7. Sophie, what do I have to do next?
See how many times 1 goes to 7.
Okay, how do I get from 1 to 7?
Times 7.
Times 7. Times 7. Now what math do I have to know how to do? Nolan?
Multiplying decimals.
Multiplying decimals. I'm going to scroll down because I'm going to show you 3 different math problems that we could solve to get that answer. Who can give me? Well, first, what decimal problem do I need to solve, Nolan? Okay. Who can tell me one math problem I could write down to solve that problem? Ethan?
15 times 7.
Can you elaborate on that? Because you said 15 times 7. What else would I need to do after I do 15 times 7?
However many decimal places?
Nope, not yet. You can do 15 times 7, but you have to know how to do 15 times 7. You have to know the whole trick. Jude?
Add a 0 after the 5.
Not after the 5.
Oh, just.
You would have to add a 0 in the answer, because if there's a 0 at the back, remember we can ignore it, but we have to plop it on at the end. I would suggest put it there at the beginning so you don't forget it, because what do you think a common error is? You forget it, okay? If I don't do 15 times 7 and add a 0, Max, what other math problem could I do here? 150 times 7. Both of those, once I get an answer, I would count the decimal places in the problem, make the answer match. Cooper?
Would it work if you put it back into a fraction 6/4 and then
Yeah, so we just said right here that all of those are the same. They're all equivalent. So Cooper's saying, would it work if we took it back to 6/4? It would. What would make our life even easier than 6/4?
simplifying it?
3/2. So we could do 3/2 times 7. What would I have to do that 7 to be able to multiply it? Put a 1 under it. Are those all math problems that we have done before? Yes. So let's now solve them all. Should get the same answer every time. 5 times 7 is what? 35. 5 regroup. 7 times 1 plus 3. Count up the decimals in the problem. Make the answer match. Next one. 0, 35, 10, count, match. Who can walk me through the next one? Harper?
3 times 7 is 21. 2 times 1 is 2.
So now we have an improper fraction. Jude, what would I do next? Divide it out. 21 divided by 2. And anytime you're doing a division problem, you have the option to give your answer as a fraction or as a decimal. If you want to add a decimal point and drop zeros, that's always an option. My suggestion is look at the fraction first. Look at the fraction first, because sometimes it's one that when you see it, you're like, ooh, I know what that decimal is. Nate, how many times does 2 go into 2? Once. You were giving me a whole answer. 2. Nate, how many times 2 go into 1? 0 times. So now that 1 is my, not my decimal, my numerator of my fraction. So I can do it as 10 and a half. What is the decimal version of 10 and a half? 10.5 or $10.50. From that point, I could have, you don't have to write this, I'm just showing you, it's always an option. If I want to give my answer as a decimal, I add a decimal point and a 0. Then when I drop it, how many times 2 go into 10? 5 times. Would I still get $10.50? Yes. Is any of that new? No, it's just our brains didn't want to think that much. So I'm going to go back up here to the top. This would be 10.50. So the answer to 1B, just, well, we have to read the question. It just says, how much does it cost for 7 bags? $10.50. The only time you have 2 labels is when it asks per bag. How much per bag? When it's asking for the unit rate. Now, I expanded that a whole lot. Did you have to solve it 12 different ways? No, but I'm hoping at least one of those ways you're like, oh, that makes sense. I remember how to do that. Harper?
I did 150 times 3 and then did 450 plus 6.
So you did what? Sorry.
I did 150 times 3 and then I got 450 and then 6 plus 450 and got 50.
Okay, so you just broke it into smaller chunks, like you did your math different. Yep, so you chunked it in like 2s. So she knew that $2.50s were what? What's $1.50 plus $1? $3. So she said there's 2 full sets of that? No, 3 full sets?
Well, I knew we had 4 bags, so I added 3 more bags. And then
Okay, sorry.
150 times 3 to get 450.
Okay, so she built off of this one. 4 bags are $6. Could you have done $12 minus $1.50? How did I get that? $12 minus $1.50. I doubled 4 bags, because what's 4 times 2? 8. So 8 bags would cost 12. If I know, but I don't need 12. Oh wait, sorry, I was thinking I needed 11. Sorry, never mind. No, that was right. Sorry, we were needing 8. So that would be 8 bags. We need 1 less. I know 1 bag cost $1.50, so yeah. 12 minus $1.50 is $10.50. There's lots of, that's what I'm trying to develop. What did I tell you we're going to be working on developing? Our number sense. The way that Harper does it versus the way that Carter does it versus the way that Ethan and Stella do it is probably all going to be different. And Cooper's is probably going to be like out there in left field, but he usually gets there too. Okay? And again, do I care how you get there? No, I care that you can get there and then tell me how you got there. Explain it in words that make sense to other people. That's the hard part. Let's go to number 2. Number 2 was the easiest one last night. You probably liked it the best. Am I right? Okay, Addie, can you read me number 2?
At a used book sale, 5 books cost $15.
Okay, so we're doing books and money. 5 books cost $15. Yeah, you're writing. Yep. Yes. You have a whole backside. And if you run out of room there, I have more paper. Don't you worry. 2B, Chase, read me the question to 2B. Sorry, 2A. What is the cost per book? Which means I'm finding the price for one book. Naomi, how do I get from 5 to 1? Divide by 5. So Ella, if I divide the bottom by 5, I have to do what to the top? Divide it by 5. Cooper, what's 15 divided by 5? 3. So my answer for 2A is what, Sophia?
3.
Per book. $3 per book. And you can just use the slash. If you want to write out the word per, that's fine. $3 per book. 2B, Jude, read me 2B.
At this rate, how many books can you buy for $21?
Okay, at this rate, how many books can you buy for $21? Where do I need the 21, Jude? In my ratios.
On the top.
On the top, because that's money and 21 is dollars. Max, what now?
You see what can you get from 3 to 21?
Okay, how do we get from 3 to 21?
7.
Times 7. Nate, what's 1 times 7?
7.
What does that mean my answer to 2B is? Read the question to 2B.
At this rate, how many books can you buy for $21?
How 7 books. So my answer would be 7 books. So notice on these I just set up one big equivalent ratio and you can build off of it. Could I have taken 5 books is how much? 15. How much is 1 book?
3.
So if I add those together, how many books do I have?
6.
For how much money? 18. If I need just 1 more book to get 7 books, what's 18 plus 3?
29.
Does that still get me to the same spot? Or sorry, I was backwards. I was trying to get $21 to see 7 books. Okay, so again, there's lots of different ways you can get there. Number 3 got ugly again. Not super ugly, but it wasn't nice, pretty whole numbers. Number 3. Cooper, will you read me the given information?
Neon bracelets cost $1 for 4.
$1 for 4 bracelets. I'll just put BR. Question. Dane, what's 3A question? Nate, you writing this down?
What is the cost per bracelet?
What is the cost per bracelet, which means I'm trying to find the price for 1 bracelet. Carter, what do I have to do now?
4 divided by 1 or 1 divided by 4?
First, I have to figure out what I'm multiplying or dividing by. How can I figure out what I need to multiply or divide by? Sophie, what do I have to do?
Divided by 4.
Okay, but how do I know that? What do I have to? What makes you say, hey, I have to divide by 4?
So you can get to 1.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how do I get from 4 to 1. I divide by 4. Divide by 4. No math at all, Jalen. What's 1 divided by 4? No. Backwards. 1/4. That's why we're going to keep practicing these, because it's tricky. Once you get it, you've got it. But sometimes it takes us a little bit to get there. So 1 divided by 4. Remember, a fraction is just saying 1 divided by 4. That fraction bar, we can say division if we want to. Now, do you say I have $1/4 in my pocket? No. That's also a pretty common fraction. It's probably less common than 1/2. Stella, do you know the decimal equivalent to 1/4? Decimal equivalents to 1/4? If you have 1/4 of a dollar, so in your head,
25 cents.
25 cents, because we have coins, okay? Think about when you're talking about money, think about if I split $1 into 4 equal parts, think about what coin you would have. You would have a quarter, it's worth 25 cents. If you didn't know that, you could do the math. Sophia. You could do the math. 1 divided by 4. I want you guys to write this out again, because we're going to get to uglier fractions that when you look at them, you're like, I have no idea what the decimal to that is. How many times does 4 go into 1?
0.
0 times. So we would have to add a decimal and a 0 there. How many times does 4 go into 10? Twice. 4 times 2 is 8. 2. You cannot. This is what people want to do now. The Coopers of the world. The ones who just want to get done with the problem quickly. He's not the only one in here, but do you agree that's you? You just want to get done real fast? Sometimes. Depends on the mood, okay? So when Cooper's in a I want to get it done mood, he would put 0.2 and 2/4. Okay, so you cannot mix decimals and fractions. It's either all decimal or all fraction or whole number, okay? So if you add a decimal point and a 0, you have to keep going until you get a remainder of nothing. So on this one, we would add another 0, drop it. How many times does 4 go into 20? 5. And we have nothing left over, so now we have converted it into a decimal. Okay, still got the same thing. If your number sense said, hey, 1/4 is 0.25, do you have to show that division? No. It's just math that backs it up for the ones that you get confused on. Okay, so 3A, what's my answer?
0.25 slash neon bracelet.
So 25 cents per bracelet. And I think they've been teaching you this since about 3rd grade, but the dollar sign goes in the front, not in the back.
Yeah.
We say it last, but it goes in the front. What? Well, I see lots of it in the back. Haley.
Might there be a cent sign?
Yeah, because I did a cent sign.
So we always do dollars
Yeah, we're not supposed to like that.
because the labels that it gives us are dollars, not cents.
Cents goes in the back.
Yeah, cents goes in the back, and you don't have decimals in cents. It's just 25 cents. This is actually 25 hundredths of a dollar.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
But we still pronounce it as 25 cents. We kind of mix and match. So, like, someone who is fluent in 2 languages sometimes mixes the languages together, like within one sentence. That's kind of what we're doing here. We're mixing languages. We're mixing dollars and cents. Okay, 3B. What is the question for 3B?
At this rate, how much will 11 neon bracelets cost?
11 bracelets. How do we get from 1 to 11? Times 11. So this would be times 11. Or, how many sets of 4 are in 11? 2 full sets would be how many bracelets? 8. How much would 8 bracelets cost me? $2. How many more do I need to purchase? 3 at 25 cents each would be $2.75. That's using logic and number sense to solve, okay? Some of us have it, some of us are still developing it. So if you're still developing it, you can do 25.25 times 11. We'd get 275. 2 decimal places would be 2.75. So $2.75. Okay? I've been trying to help you develop your number sense for 2 years now. Because this is tough. If you have some number sense, it makes the problems a little bit easier. So you don't have to do as much math. You still have a lot of math to do, but it speeds up the process. Okay, turn to page 66. No, you don't have to write these ones. I want you to fix them in your book, but you don't have to continue writing them on loose leaf. Let me get there. In 2016, the cost of 2 ounces of pure gold was $2,640. Complete the double number line to show the cost for 1, 3, and 4 ounces of gold. If on a double number line they give you 1 set, you should be able to figure out all of the other ones. This one gives us 2 sets. Okay? I would either go to 4 first or 1 first. Who thinks they know why I might go to 4 ounces of gold first? Jude?
So you can just multiply by 2.
Yeah, because it's just doubling what we already know. So let's just show that. To get from 2 to 4, it's times 2. What is that number times 2? You may have to do some math. 5280, right?
Oh, yeah.
5,280. After that, I would have went down to 1. But which one do you think I would have started at? Chase? If I'm trying to find 1 ounce of gold, where do you think I would start?
The 2,640.
Yeah, the smallest one, because you guys like to make your life as easy as possible. So 2 to 1 is divide by 2. So if I take 2,640, divide it by 2, I should get that.
Oh, I messed up at the start.
Once you have 1, once you have the unit rate, you can find any other number by using multiplication. So I could take 1320 times 3 to get this one. What else could I do? Besides just take 1320 times 3. There's another way to get there that you guys might even like better. Dane?
Add 2640 and 1320.
Yeah, you know how much it is for 1 ounce of gold. You know how much it is for 2 ounces of gold, and you're trying to find 3 ounces. So you could add these 2 numbers, which would be the same result as if you took 1,320 times 3. 3960. Make sense? Raise your hand if you got it right, but you didn't really understand all of that. Okay. Okay, let's look at the next one. The double number line shows that 4 pounds of tomatoes cost $14. Draw tick marks and write labels to show the prices of 1, 2, and 3 pounds of tomatoes. So most people got here. 1. Oops, those are kind of far. So pounds of tomatoes, I need 1, 2, and 3. Again, I would either do 2 or 1. Haley, why do you think I would do 2 first? Because you can just divide by 2. Because to get from 4 to 2, it's divide by 2. So what's 14 divided by 2? 7. So I know 2 pounds of tomatoes cost $7. Here's where our number sense might vary. How do we get from 2 to 1, Jude?
Divide by 2.
Can you do 7 divided by 2 without dividing it out?
Yeah, 3.50.
3.50 or 3 1/2. If you had to write it out, it's fine. That'd be 7 halves. If you converted it to a mixed number, it'd be 3 1/2. Easiest way to find 3 is to add. What could I add to find the price of 3, Max? If I know the price of 1 pound and I know the price of 2 pounds. I could add them together, right? So what's $7 plus $3.50? $10.50. How else could I have gotten $10.50? Cooper?
I found a number that would you could minus 14 by to get.
Okay, so you
but
took
you could also plus add it by 7 to get the same number.
so you could have taken 14 minus 350 because that's 4 pounds and you want to take a pound away to find 3. You could have taken 350 times 3 to get 1050. There's lots of different ways to get there. Okay, last one. I'm going to write this one out. It was pretty quick. $48 for, how many is under that? 4? No, I think it was 4 because it was a pretty one. For 4 tickets. It asks how much for 5. Can we easily get from 4 to 5?
No.
Not using multiplication or division. No, you find the price of 1 first. Find the unit rate. How do you get from 4 to 1? Divide by 4. So what's 48 divided by 4? 12. So it's $12 for 1 ticket. And then you can easily build 1 ticket up to 5 and 11. So it'd be 60 and 132. Okay, so again, I knew that would be hard for you. I planned on spending most of today on this. I do have your weekly worksheets to pass out. I forgot to give them to the other class, but I'll walk them down there now. You don't have any homework this weekend. If you want to start on your weekly worksheet, you can, okay?